Welcome to the True Mind Shifters channel. In this channel, we share true stories from our own lives on fear, shame, and guilt to help show you you're not alone and help share how we navigate through difficult times. We all are interested in getting to a happier, more peaceful life and existence, but the truth is, life has a lot for us to figure out. So let's not do this alone. If you like this topic, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Normally, I'm with Marina, and there's been a lot going on in her world. So for now, we've been touching base periodically. So I'll infuse some of the wisdom that she has to share that I've received personally in the last week from her in this particular personal set of stories that are, again, based on my life. But hopefully, there's enough similarity in your life that you can hear my story and perhaps find a parallel that helps you with your life. We've been talking about a number of different topics related to healing, and we've spoken with some healers. We'll be featuring a dynamic duo coming up at the end of this month regarding leadership, and personal leadership is an important part of our life, right? Taking ownership and accountability and empowering ourselves to make our lives what we want them to be. Of course, we can't control everything. So let's dive into this week's story. Within the last few days, there was a major birthday for one of my kids. The logistics for the event weren't that big, even though it was a fairly large milestone birthday. But this particular child preferred to keep things down on the down low, simple, straightforward, nothing elaborate, no party, just something with family, something very simple, two simple things with family. And we'll just say out of the gate, it was great until it wasn't. And I have a saying now that I'm leveraging off of a statement that I used to use for teaching meetings. And, most of us, we go to meetings and a lot of them aren't that great because there's no agenda, the purpose is unclear. A lot of meetings really aren't that great. People tend to dread them because you're not really sure about what's going on. There may not be an agenda, or if there is an agenda, maybe the facilitation is a little off track. So we tend to question the value of our time in meetings. And so I came up with this statement and I observed it for many, many years that the meeting starts before the meeting starts. And so what I was trying to get at is that when you're preparing for the meeting, you're anticipating people's needs, you're answering natural questions people would have, and you're getting ahead and helping make sure that people come into that room knowing what's going to happen, how it's going to work, and that'll increase the likelihood of it occurring. So in this case, it's a little bit different. I'm talking about the problem starts before the problem starts. And what was the problem? It's a birthday. Everybody should be having fun, right? Well, since my child's first birthday, I remember us getting ready, and it was an hour before guests were arriving. And we'll just say my husband had a different vision of how to get things ready. And I think we still needed to put out some food, ice the drinks, and clean up something else inside. And he was focused on the outside. And he disassembled a table in the backyard so that he could spray paint it and make it fresh looking. In his mind, everything was about where people were going to be sitting outside, and that was a top priority in the last hour before guests arrived. And I had a very different set of priorities. And it was about the food and the drinks that people were going to be eating and consuming. And it stuck with me how different our perspectives were. But I got angry. Like, why couldn't you see this? Right. And in the prior recording, I talked about My husband is not my girlfriend, right? One of my girlfriends would come over, or a coworker that I've worked with where we work very similarly. And why would I expect him to be like that? Take that as the backdrop. We've worked a lot on different things and I've created different checklists, and planning a party, I have checklists that start 4 weeks to 8 weeks in advance, sometimes longer, depending on what's going on. So, and I plan, I enjoy logistics, but I was a little loosey-goosey with this one because how hard is it to just go to the movies and go to dinner? That's not hard. As the day unfolded, things got a little bit stacked and tight. And there were different reasons why we took separate cars to go to the restaurant for dinner. And by the time we got home, it was a little bit late, and the younger kids need to get to bed, and it's encroaching on their bedtime now. I still had 2 tasks to finish, and I really didn't think it would take that long. So I went about trying to find certain things to, like the candles, couldn't find the candles. Things have moved around for different reasons, but I couldn't find the candles. I needed to assemble the gift. I had the gift and I just needed to put it in the bag. Like I had the gift bag, and I realized that everything was taking me longer. And I was getting upset with myself as I couldn't find stuff, or it was taking me a lot longer than I anticipated. And then I heard the TV be put on. And so Pirates of the Caribbean is playing in the background. And I just started to get really angry. But I knew I shouldn't be too angry because we hadn't really seen each other during the day to communicate, or the day before because we've been busy with different plans. So I decided that it would be a good idea to ask my husband if he planned on helping me with what was going on, or if he wanted to just sit and watch the movie. Because then that, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, then that is going to reset how much time I told everybody to wait if I'm doing everything by myself or if he's helping. But at this, and I was kind of okay if my husband just said, look, I'm going to sit down, I'm tired. But I also, if I really think about it, I have I believe, because I can't really hear myself when I say things at times. I think this came across as, are you going to help or are you just going to sit there? So I didn't, I can laugh now uh, because it sounds really straightforward and simple. I'm trying not to be mean, but at the same time, I do deserve help. I deserve assistance. Everyone does, right? We all deserve help from others. And this goes back to, why wouldn't I ask for help? And that was his immediate response. Look, if you need help, why aren't you just asking me for help? And I was trying to back up and say, well, I'm gauging, what your intentions are, because if you don't want to help, then I didn't say it as smoothly as I could have, but it just turned into drama. I'm wondering if you can imagine with me the scene where I called him into the other room. I have a question for you. Were you going to help, or were you planning on just waiting until I served everyone? There was a lot of emotion in that point, and then the child who had the birthday asked if everything was okay, and I just invited them to not to worry about it. Things will get sorted, and they were, and it was fine. The younger kids went to bed probably half an hour later than normal, but at the end of the day, it was fine. But it wasn't fine because it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good to not have this figured out. Someone's birthday is happening a year in advance, and so you have a lot of time to prepare. And I want things to go smoothly. But the reason why I said the problem starts before the problem starts is because if I look at a couple of things very objectively, without emotion, I'm able to back up and say and evaluate, self-evaluate. Generally speaking, we have an arrangement in our marriage that I am human resources and my husband is facilities, meaning I take care of the people stuff, he takes care of the things, and he helps with the things for the people when I take the lead to invite him to help. But I guess I still, in that moment where I was feeling overwhelmed, I got emotional and I got resentful that he was just sitting down and not offering to help me. So I need to own that. He didn't have the best response, but at the same time, his question of, well, if you need help, why don't you just ask for help? Then, of course, the natural response of, well, you're my partner. You should see if I need help and offer it. Ooh. So I talked to Marina because I got frustrated, but I needed perspective. And one of the first things she said to me is, he's not a mind reader. And she encouraged me to reflect more. I was still upset about it the next day. In the moment, I could hear Marina saying to me, look for the lesson. Look for your lesson. And when we say look for the lesson, it's not, oh yeah, I know the lesson. My husband's really doesn't help me. That's the lesson. I shouldn't even rely on him. No, no. The lesson is for me. The lesson is what can I do differently to foster success and happiness and peace? So, with deep accountability for the situation, I started to reflect more. And then I also had heard a very powerful statement in one of the Catalyst conversations with Bonnie Koch. And you'll hear more of her next week, along with Sharon Stivert. There was a statement Bonnie made about people who are truly changing in their lives, what she's seen. And I had both Marina's point of view of look for your lesson. And then I had Bonnie's calling out of people who are transforming tend to be more proactive. That's my own translation of what she said. And it clicked. So, what was I doing? How can I prevent this from happening? This didn't feel good. Okay, use the things that don't feel good to look for the lesson, to grow, and be proactive. Okay, so I woke up in the morning and I started writing my own notes down. I woke up, I was excited. I wasn't angry at my husband anymore. I was thinking about what do I need to learn? And I wrote down these notes. So I'll share them with you. And the first one was the problem starts before the problem starts. So I set the scene with you. It was supposed to be a really fun day, right? Dinner was fun. Everything was fun. Drive home, music, kids are having a great time. And, we eventually did get to the dessert and sing happy birthday. And, but if I were to go back and say, what was my lesson? I underscoped what was needed for the birthday. And in my head, I felt the pressure of needing to do the things too close to when people needed to be going to bed. So, after I ask for help, so I did eventually shift into asking for help. And this was my reflection around that. After I asked him, are you going to help at any point? And there were clearly obvious signs that I needed help, but I decided to shift to asking for help in the moment. And I asked if anyone had seen where I put the candles. And the youngest child remembered steel trap mine, those young ones. And it wasn't exactly where I had it, but it put the breadcrumbs enough for me to follow back to where I'd put the candle, which made a lot of sense where it was. So in the process of me asking for help, once I got it out there, I need help, and I started engaging, the youngest one contributed and she helped solve the candle issue. And I was super proud and happy that she helped. So I realized that, clearly my husband got triggered with how I was asking for help, and it was kind of not the nicest way to do it. So I need to reflect on, okay, so when we say look for the lesson, you need to ask yourself, what did I not do? And what did I do that contribute to the problem? So what I did was I juggled a lot. I didn't have communication really for 2 solid days with my husband about the details of what we were doing for the party, or for what we were doing for. I didn't really have solid communication for about 2 days, and specifics around what was happening um, for the birthday. And so I didn't prepare the gift soon enough, and I didn't ask for help sooner, and I didn't talk very kindly. So my lesson, right, is a few layers. One, get some of the basics down sooner. This is pretty basic stuff. This is not rocket science. That's the good news, right? It's get the basics covered sooner. Ask for help the moment you need it. As much as possible, remove the emotion from no one's helping me to so that I stop playing this victim role. No one's helping me is a victim role. Um, as I said before, he generally focuses on facilities, right? So that's the things. And I'm the one who focuses on the people. And birthdays are kind of a combination. So because birthdays are a combination, he needed to be involved. And that was my aha, right? I can drive it and involve him. So, and I also realize I can include the kids too. And I can be teaching them what needs to be happening to prepare for a celebration, as small or big as it might be. And I think what trapped me, or what got me, was I deceived myself thinking this is so simple. And I ended up putting things off to the last minute. So my realization definitely helped me, and I want to be able to help other people. So I broke this down into, even if it seems simple, there are a few questions to be asking yourself if you're setting something up and you need to collaborate. You can't do everything by yourself. This is my other lesson, I think, is I can't do it all by myself. And I shouldn't wait to ask for help. I'm setting myself up to be put in these pressure cooker situations when I wait to plan and when I don't involve other people. So I'm going to give the gift of my recommendations for if you want to prevent this in your own life, because this is what I'm going to do going forward. Even if it's a small gathering, scoping out how it's going to work will happen. And I will do my best to plan at least a few days in advance, even if it's a small plan, like 7 days, 5 days in advance. So scoping the plan includes things like asking if it's for someone's birthday, any preferences they have, creating and sending invitations, even if it just is including adding it to our family calendar of what, when, where. Shopping, what's the shopping list? Doing the shopping, assembling the gifts, cleaning, getting ready. That includes getting dressed and decorating if there's any decorating to do. And in this case, there wasn't any decorating to do. And then assembling the food. and setting out the utensils and things to eat with. That's pretty simple, but I didn't verbalize it. I didn't write it down anywhere. And I do have pretty cool checklists for bigger parties, but again, I took it for granted that it was so simple. I decided to bypass the planning. And then I got mad that no one understood the plan and I needed help. So I like to pride myself on learning, and I don't have any shame of making mistakes. I get defensive sometimes, but if I can clearly see how I can do something better, that's my goal, is to make it better. I don't absolve my husband from having responsibility to be there for me and with me. But if I'm not being clear about how I need his help, his default mode is facilities and other things that are important to him. So why would I take it personally? I hear Marina's voice right now. He's not a mind reader. So I hope this story helps you, and I'll attempt to put a checklist in our resources for you, and hope that this story helps you have some happier times. Really, let's not get tripped up in life over things that we really can prepare for, right? So we know that gatherings involve collaboration, and that can translate into other things and can teach your kids, can teach you, can help you collaborate more cleanly and effectively for great celebrations ahead. I hope this helps you, and I really look forward to having you all hear more from our catalysts this coming month. And in the meantime, we send you empowerment, support, and love.